What's going on, everybody? This is kind of like a short video to discuss a very small part of the Bevy game engine. If you're not familiar with the Bevy game engine, it is a currently code-only game engine written in Rust. It's super fun to kind of like figure out and poke around with. It's very difficult, which is why I'm going to be uploading a couple of videos kind of about the different aspects of Bevy to learn, and the different library parts, and just kind of some of the more documented or less documented stuff within Bevy. So we're going to be talking a little bit about buttons, because it is the first thing that I added to my kind of cybersecurity and OSINT analysis tool, Dan. If you want to know more about Dan, you can check it out at GitHub. I will leave a link in the description to the GitHub page. It's free, open source, all of that. We will be going over some of the code, or at least the way it looks right now, but it's changing pretty frequently. If you can't find the code that I'm covering in this video, it should be there somewhere. You might just kind of have to search through it. But this is going to kind of cover button bundles specifically, and kind of how to deal with them within Bevy. So if you want to take a look at what the app does right now, it doesn't do much, but we can go ahead and cargo run it, and you will get this screen right here. You can press a button, it has a hover state, and it just kind of spawns one of those things. And I've got some collision detection in on this version that's kind of buggy, but you can just keep spawning buttons up and to the right. So if we go back to our code here, I'll go ahead and close this out. What we're specifically going to be dealing with is the button down there in the lower left. So let's check out our main function first. So I'll hop over here up into Vim. So our main function just kind of adds, the default plugins to get us a screen. And then we add several systems. We're not going to be going over these systems right here, basically from here down to here. We're not going to be going over those at all, but we will be going over the setup system, which is run once at startup. That's what this means right here. Everything that you see with update next to it, those are systems that are run every single frame. This one right here is just run on startup. So if we go to function setup, here is the setup function. And we're not going to be going over the entire thing, and I'm going to kind of breeze over a couple of parts that I plan on covering in later videos, to include commands. Commands you can kind of think of as the overall system that you can use to create new things within a window, or just kind of within your application. So here we're spawning the camera, for example. What we are going to be dealing with the most is the button bundle in this video. So right here, we are spawning a node bundle that takes up the entirety of the screen. So we've got the width and the height set to 100%. We're aligning the items a specific way. It's kind of similar to CSS in that way. And we are giving it default values for everything else. So what this basically is just an empty kind of container that we're going to put everything else in our app in, or at least the button bundle. So this dot with children, that is running on this node bundle. Rust kind of uses an interesting syntax here, where I suppose it's supposed to be close to functional programming, where everything kind of builds on top of itself. I think it's called builder notation, actually, but you see it most frequently within functional programming. We actually also see a closure right here, or an anonymous function rather, right here with the parent. So this parent corresponds to this node bundle. We are creating children, and we are referring to the parent here. So this parent is then going to spawn a button bundle. Now, bundles within Bevy, you can kind of think of them as a way of containing lots of different kinds of information. So a button bundle holds information about a bundle, and it has got default information that a button bundle needs, but it can also hold other information. So here we can look at our button bundle, and we've got a style. Now this part is the part that's kind of like CSS. We've got a width, a height, a border, which we are defining as a rectangle, with a value of 5.0. And then, so I believe that's the thickness. We will check that out here in a second. We've got our justified content center. So that's going to be all of the items within it are going to be centered both horizontally and vertically, with align items. And then we're going to give it a margin, so it doesn't run over everything. And then we're going to give it default values. So that is going to spawn our button. We're going to give it a border color and a background color. That background color you can actually see if I go up to normal button. So you create it with just RGB values. This one I believe is like a dark gray, if I remember right. And then we are going to eventually change that with hovered and pressed button. We're not going to go over that in this video though. Let's get back to where we were. That's not what I was looking for. Right there. So we are creating our background color there, and then we're going to create even more children. So then the button itself is going to spawn a text bundle. Now this is what I'm talking about. Bundles all kind of contain each other. So you've got a node bundle right up here. You've got the node bundle right here at parent, and you're creating it here, which is going to take up just the entirety of the screen. That is going to spawn a button bundle. That button bundle is then going to spawn a text bundle, and that text bundle is going to hold the actual text itself. So we can do this. Let's do please subscribe. We will look at that change here in a second. And then we actually have to load stuff from an asset server. I'll cover that in a later video as well. If you're watching this well into the future, I might have already covered it. You can just kind of search for it under my channel, or don't. But we're also creating the font size and the color here as well. So if we go back and run this, it's going to take a second to compile. And then we'll have our button here. Oh, it actually didn't, did I not save? That's weird. Huh. Let's kill that real quick. Actions, none. Oh, I think I'm setting it right here on accident. Let's see if I can do this. Please subscribe. So it's obviously running over the side, and then whenever I hover over it, it's overriding that value. So we can actually, let's see, interaction, hover, and then actually we can go ahead and change it back here. Text.sections at 0, dot value equals, please, let's just change it to subscribe dot to string. Kind of doing this a little bit more live than I intended. And then if we, let's do a, let's see, %s, that's not how I do it. Just change this to just subscribe. And if we run this, it should look a little bit prettier, and it should also change back after the hover. Yeah, so we've got to subscribe, hover, and then we can click it, and everything is all good. So that is button bundles and a short introduction to bundles in general. I'm going to do a larger video to kind of explain how buttons in Bevy work more specifically. But I think with button bundles, you can kind of get a gist of how bundles within Bevy work, and then you can kind of learn a little bit more as you create more bundles. If we actually go back over here and search for bundle, you can see we've got a camera 2D bundle. Hitting the wrong keys here. Node bundle, button bundle, text bundle. Yeah, so that's all of them in this, but in my other libraries or my other pieces of code, you can actually see, let's see if we go into node, I think I might have other ones here. Bundle, yeah, we've got a sprite bundle there. That's what's spawning the actual images. And it looks like that's the only one here. But yeah, there are lots of different kinds of bundles within Bevy that you can kind of learn about. I would check out the Bevy docs, which I will obviously link in the description. But there's lots to learn there. I'll go over bundles a little bit more generally later on. That's about it for Bevy. I'll be talking a little bit more about Bevy here in the future as I learn more about it, honestly, using Dan. But yeah, that's about it. Take it easy. Peace.